Hi, and welcome to the show. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/podcast. Today, we welcome back Alyssa Sano. She's a public health auditor. Today's KevinMD article is GMP versus non-GMP, the hidden truth about your supplements. Alyssa, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a public health auditor. What exactly is that?
So, public health auditor. So, I work in the dietary supplements industry. So, what I do as a public health auditor is like I make sure that the facilities are following the good manufacturing practice, the GMP. And what is GMP? It is a bit of an esoteric concept, but basically it is a concept in the Code of Federal Regulation,
Okay.
what we call CFR. And the CFR is the codification of final rules in the Federal Register. So it's Federal Register is often described as a like legal newspaper of the executive branch of the federal government. So it consists of like 50 titles, like covering a specific area of federal regulations. And the rules administered by the FDA are written on Title 21, and dietary supplement GMPs are in Part 111. So basically, I should like start with explaining the GMP, but
Sure.
GMP ensures that the supplement manufacturer follows the recipe and the label claim information is verified. So, in other words, the product truly contains, say, like 1,000 milligrams of omega 3, and GMP does not address efficacy and potency in a pharmacological sense. So when the GMP auditors go into the facility, they look at to what extent the facility's quality control is adequate, and if they follow the recipe, and if the label claim is accurate as the packaging says.
So, in terms of GMP, otherwise known as good manufacturing practices, do most of the supplements that we find in a typical drugstore, do they
Mhm.
fall under that umbrella?
That's a good question, and it's very tricky. I would say unless you, so it really depends on like each facility. So I should also mention that the typical like brand owners, like when you look at the company's name, like in the packaging, it does not necessarily mean that the brand owners are manufacturing those supplements at their facility.
Mhm.
What happens is oftentimes they could outsource manufacturing to contract manufacturers. So we do not know like if brand owners like are really manufacturing. So like the responsibilities, the scope of responsibilities could be different. And like that, so GMP auditor's job is also like ensuring that the scope of responsibilities are defined like in for each party, because otherwise when the adverse events happen, they need to do the recall, and they will need to have their responsibilities defined, to what extent like it's the brand owner's responsibility, like it is contract manufacturer's responsibility. So
So, how can consumers differentiate between supplements that are produced in GMP compliant facilities and those that are not? Are there specific labels that need to look for on the supplements? How can you tell the difference between something that is GMP certified versus not?
so usually what you see is on the back of the packaging, you will see the statement that says this supplement was manufactured at GMP compliant facility or something like that. So if you see that statement, then it means that like those supplements were manufactured and probably packaged at GMP certified facility.
Okay. And you talked to this a little bit earlier. What exactly goes into GMP certification? You mentioned auditors have to go in and make sure that the factory is producing the supplements that contain what it says it contains. Go into a little bit more detail in terms of what exactly it takes for a supplement to be labeled compliant with GMP certified practices.
Sure. So we start with like ingredient picking and testing. So, facilities must be picky with ingredient selection, because basically what you put in is what you get out.
Hmm.
So if the ingredient selection is not adequately controlled, the quality of ingredients, hence supplements, suffer. So they need to have this system in place in the form of supplier management or vetting program. So this is often done by these contract manufacturers or brand owners auditing suppliers on site, like requiring them to fill out GMP surveys, reviewing the qualifications, and scrutinizing the certificates of analysis, which is essentially like test reports of raw materials. And GMP auditors evaluate the thoroughness of the supplier control procedure by reviewing documents and records for, say, like initial qualification, requalification, and if they have an adequate supplier disqualification processes too, if they find any problems in their raw materials. And once the facility selects ingredients, they perform identity testing for each ingredient. And this step is another crucial process because it verifies that the received ingredient is indeed the ingredient the supplier claims it to be. So, and the identity testing procedure needs to be validated. Like if you are using like in-house, like original methods,
Hmm.
and it also needs to fit for purpose. So one size fits all approach does not work, especially when you're handling botanicals or herbs. So you will always need to have this like a backup method that verifies like this origin like of botanicals and making sure that the identity and the all the chemical characteristics fits the already established specifications for the herbs.
Now, if I walk into a typical drugstore, approximately
Mhm.
what percentage of supplements would be considered GMP certified?
That is a good question. I do not know. I have no idea. What what you can usually do is you can go on to the brand owner's website
Hmm.
and look up the supplements and like see if they have the GMP certified like list. Usually what they have is like a GMP mark or like any kinds of statements associated with the brand owners or contract manufacturers. So like I would say the only way to make sure is like look at the back of the packaging or go to the website and see like if they have those certifications listed. And what's so fascinating is that this to what extent they are certified is like a huge issue right now because we've recently had this recent survey on this consumer drivers for online supplement shopping, and like the survey revealed like two interesting results. So this survey was done on 500 US consumers asking about their concerns and expectations when purchasing dietary supplements online. And the first result was that only 38% of online supplement buyers felt highly confident about the quality and safety of online supplements. So, so that ties into your question of like, what percentage like of the retailers, I mean, of the contract manufacturers have the GMP certified, right? And this confidence level was increased to 68%, like upon seeing an independent certification mark on the supplement package sold online. And 71% of respondents would switch brands if they found an equivalent supplement that had received independent certification. So if they had received those certification, like they can list that like on their website or packaging. So that is basically the only way to verify like if they are GMP certified. And the second result was that 51% of online consumers were willing to pay at least like 10 to 15% more for independently tested and certified supplements. And 32% like would pay 15 to 20% more.
Hmm.
So I think in general, like we are moving in the right direction in that retailer requirements and regulations are driving significant developments to enhance consumer safety and the quality of supplements. And for example, like this year, like major online and brick and mortar retailers introduced new requirements for its sellers and now mandate specific quality testing and documentation for some categories, supplement categories. And we also have the Operation Supplement Safety, we call it like OPSS
Mhm.
scorecard. And this was developed by the Department of Defense and is now used to evaluate the safety and quality of supplements. So while not all supplements are yet to be certified per the GMP, we are moving in the right direction in terms of like the government regulations and also like these like retailers coming together to ensure the safety of supplements.
And who is doing the GMP certification? Is this a governmental agency?
So the FDA does have this like regulation, and of course, like the FDA inspects facilities, but also so what I do like as an auditor, like I belong to this third part certification body, and it's an independent, like internationally recognized public health organization. And I can't disclose the name, but this our institution was built in 1944, and we are also like ISO, like IEC accredited global laboratories. And we offer a wide range of like testing, like certification, and technical services in addition to health risk assessments. And we are comprised of like auditors, like engineers, microbiologists, like toxicologists, chemists, and a lot of public health experts. And we provide services in 110 countries across all major industries.
So tell us what the risks are if someone purchases a supplement that is not GMP certified. Do you have any real examples of risks or harms to patients because they purchased and consumed something that wasn't GMP certified?
Yes, so there are a lot of adverse events reported, like in the news. And to give you an example, recently in Japan, we've had this huge recall that resulted in, I, I think, 100 deaths
Mhm.
and more adverse events. And it caused, well, so the supplement was linked to this like organ damage and like such as kidney failure. And the so it was, I think the supplement was adulterated, and so it was not GMP certified. So
Okay.
of course, like I'm going to go into more details in like different countries regulations later, but it was something to do with the lack of proper regulations. And it is a like a textbook example of the danger of consuming unregulated supplements.
So let's talk about other countries. So if someone purchases a supplement from another country,
Mhm.
is GMP certification, is that an international standard? Tell us about that.
This FDA's GMP, like that applies to the US only.
Mhm.
And so like this is actually like a very tricky issue because so I audit the US and also the APAC region. And having audited in the APAC region, I've learned that applying the same Code of Federal Regulation, the CFR standard, is could be very difficult because the requirements could sometimes conflict with each country's standard.
Yeah.
So, for example, ingredient testing and label claim testing are required in the US under the CFR, but not overseas, such as Japan and New Zealand. So, even the definition of dietary supplements versus food is different in these countries. So, but if you are purchasing supplements in the US, all the supplements coming into the US need to be cleared with the GMP to some extent. I mean, not all, which is why like it's so tricky. You will need to be very careful, like when you are purchasing supplements that were manufactured outside the US,
Okay.
because technically it does not fall under the FDA regulation. And like, but I would assume that these companies or facilities will have to be registered under the US FDA, like if they're exporting to the US. But again, like the since each country has different regulations, it is a little tricky.
So I get questions all the time in my exam room about the safety of supplements. Patients give me internet information. Is this supplement safe?
Yeah.
So tell me the type of advice that I can give the patients whenever they ask me about the safety of supplements and what
Mhm.
they should be looking for.
Yes. So I would say not all supplements are created equal. And I need to emphasize this all the time because, just because you go into the, grocery store and see all the supplements on the supplement aisle, you cannot just assume that all supplements are safe. And so I would encourage patients to do their homework and look for the GMP statement. And usually, like as I said, you can find one on the package saying something like this product was manufactured in a GMP compliant facility. And alternatively, if you don't see that, you can still look up the brand owner or company's website and learn about their safety measures or list of certifications.
So, from a company standpoint, I'm going to assume that the reason some of them don't comply with GMP certification is because of the cost, right? It's probably more expensive for them to do so. Is that the
Yes.
main reason?
Mhm. I would say so. I mean, there could be multiple reasons, but yes, in a way, clearing this GMP means investing in the quality of the facility. So, the quality control department needs to be robust. Like they need to be doing ingredient testing, like valid ingredient testing, which means like they will need to send like samples to contract laboratories if they do not have in-house labs. So that will add up to the cost. And so like and also like all the equipment, utensils and machines, like you will need to be able to have the preventive maintenance program that makes sure that all the equipment are functioning properly and all the sanitation and cleaning procedures are in place. So of course like the facility and company like needs to invest initially like into the quality control system, but I would say that it's a long-term like investment that will actually help the facility to gain the consumer trust.
And just to be clear, when something is GMP certified, it only speaks to the sourcing and that the ingredients inside the supplement are what they say they are. It says nothing about the efficacy or potential drug interactions of the supplement. Is that correct?
Correct. It does. So GMP does not cover efficacy or potency of supplements. It just covers the safety, I mean, and label claim information.
We're talking to Alyssa Sano. She's a public health auditor. Today's Kevin MD article is GMP versus non GMP, the hidden truth about your supplements. Alyssa, as always, will end with some of your take home messages to the Kevin MD audience.
I will be repeating myself,
Sure.
but so not all supplements are created equal. And we need to empower healthcare providers and patients or health consumers by increasing health literacy regarding supplements, and especially the concept of good manufacturing practice, GMP, because this will help them make guided decisions when choosing supplements.
Alyssa, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and insight. Thanks again for coming back on the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin.